Say to me that I can't say to you. That's some news to me. That's so new to me. I'm luxury. It been like this for a minute. I don't do for free. You gotta pay. Yes, there is a fee. Yeah, I'm off the leash. Yeah, I'm a beast. Yeah, I'm a preacher. Step in the booth and preach. Yeah, I do teach. This is for the youth. I'm inside the booth. Not off no 40 proof. I'm on that G.O.D. God at the juice. God at the truth. And it's on the loose. Riding around in the city like I'm on a moose. On a mongoose. Rock a mongoose. Pop a Willie, we don't care. Mick Millie air. Think I need a spare. Got too much air. Hit too much ground. Never touch the asphalt. If you fall, then my that gon' be your fault. I'm on that G.O.D. God at the juice. God at the truth. And it's on the loose. Riding around in the city like I'm on a moose. On a mongoose. Rock a mongoose. Yeah, I'm moving fast. Yeah, I hit the dash. Yeah, I caught the pass. Boy, I'll never crash. You forever mad. You forever sad. My wifey Angelina. I think I'm Brad. Michael Jackson bad. We forever smooth. You be on the news. You ain't got no clue. And we never lose. We get them W's. We breaking every rule. We paid our dues.
You ain't seen the news. You ain't seen my shoes. You ain't seen the views. Look how I get the views. Top floor of the suite. Watch the views.
You ain't seen the news, you ain't seen my shoes, you ain't see the views. Look how I get the views, top floor of the suite, watch the views. What you gon' say to me that I can't say to you? That's some news to me, that's so new to me. I'm luxury, it been like this for a minute, I don't do for free. You gotta pay, yes there is a fee. Yeah, I'm off the leash, yeah, I'm a beast. Yeah, I'm a preacher. Step in the booth and preach. Yeah, I do teach. This is for the youth. I'm inside the booth. Not off no 40 proof. I'm on that G.O.D. God at the juice. God at the truth. And it's on the loose. Riding around in the city like I'm on a moose. On a mongoose. Rock a mongoose. Pop a Willie, we don't care. Mick Millie air. Think I need a spare. Got too much air, hit too much ground. Never touch the asphalt. If you fall, then my that gon' be your fault. I'm on that G.O.D. God at the juice, God at the truth. And it's on the loose. Riding around in the city like I'm on a moose. On a mongoose, rock a mongoose. Yeah, I'm moving fast. Yeah, I hit the dash. Yeah, I caught the pass. Boy, I'll never crash. You forever mad, you forever sad. My wifey Angelina, I think I'm Brad. Michael Jackson bad, we forever smooth. You be on the news, you ain't got no clue. And we never lose, we get them W's. We breaking every rule, we paid our dues.
You ain't seen the news. You ain't seen my shoes. You ain't seen the views. Look how I get the views.
You ain't seen the news, you ain't seen my shoes, you ain't see the views. Look how I get the views, top floor of the suite, watch the views. What you gon' say to me that I can't say to you? That's some news to me, that's so new to me. I'm luxury, it been like this for a minute, I don't do for free. You gotta pay, yes there is a fee. Yeah, I'm off the leash, yeah, I'm a beast. Yeah, I'm a preacher. Step in the booth and preach. Yeah, I do teach. This is for the youth. I'm inside the booth. Not off no 40 proof. I'm on that G.O.D. God at the juice. God at the truth. And it's on the loose. Riding around in the city like I'm on a moose. On a mongoose. Rock a mongoose. Pop a Willie, we don't care. Mick Millie air. Think I need a spare. Got too much air, hit too much ground. Never touch the asphalt. If you fall, then my that gon' be your fault. I'm on that G.O.D. God at the juice. caught at the truth, and it's on the loose. Ride around in the city like I'm on a moose, on a mongoose, rock a mongoose. Yeah, I'm moving fast. Yeah, I hit the dash. Yeah, I caught the pass. Boy, I'll never crash. You forever mad. You forever sad. My wifey Angelina. I think I'm Brad. Michael Jackson bad. We forever smooth. You be on the news. You ain't got no clue. Nigga, we never lose. We get them W's. We breaking every rule. We paid our dues.
You ain't seen the news, you ain't seen my shoes, you ain't seen the views. Look how I get the views, top floor of the suite, watch views. What you gon' say to me that I can't say?
Yo, 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 this is your boy awesomeisjayell, aka the biggest music artist in the metaverse. And today we are doing awesome interviews, right? This is actually a rebrand for my interview segment of my channel. It is now called Awesome Interviews. And today, as a guest, we have Hermes from Sad Gods NFT. Hey, Hermes, how's it going?
Hey, it's good, man. Yeah, pretty excited to be here. Thanks for having me on. How's it going?
Definitely, man. Definitely. I'm doing great. As I told you behind the scenes, man, I'm in the midst of a double header. I'm on my second live stream for the day. So yeah, man, I'm just pushing through, man. Just pushing through. I'm really glad to have you here to discuss Sad Gods, man. Discuss Sad Gods.
Yeah, absolutely. Very excited to speak about it. What would you like to know?
Man, well, first things first, right? Let's talk about the decision to actual matter of fact, let's not jump into that yet. Let's wait. So let's talk about the conception of Sad Gods, the idea. Where did the idea originally come from for you to create these NFTs? And the name Sad Gods, where does it come from? Where does all the inspiration come from?
I suppose at its root, it kind of comes from, obviously is the Greek mythology behind it, the gods themselves, the Greek god Apollo, and thinking about the David, that kind of sort of classical artwork, it's definitely an appreciation for fine art within the team. And, Paris is the artist. So, I can only sort of relay what I've heard from him, but yeah, it's primarily that. But then there's also a lot of sort of vaporwave influence. There's sort of really bright, popping colors, the pinks and the yellows. And then the sad itself is kind of there's a bunch of reasons for that. But I suppose primarily be thinking these. It can be a little bit cool in the 21st century to be a little bit sad, and then there's also the narrative that's behind the art itself, that little bit of lore that was written, which is that Apollo and Daphne are actually leaving the mortal world and they're heading into the metaverse, and they've got to leave that world behind, and they're a little bit sad about it. So at the moment that they actually enter the metaverse, they're sort of locked into having this perpetually sad look on their face.
Oh, that's fire. I like that. I like that, man. It actually reminds me, I'm not sure. Have you ever watched American Gods before?
Yeah, I've not watched all of it, but I'm familiar with it. I know a little bit of it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. That's very cool. I love that show, man. I actually recently just heard that it was canceled. So I'm pretty sad about that.
Yeah, I heard the book is excellent. Although I think the TV show was a good adaptation, but it's worth reading if you're into it.
Yeah, I heard about it. I definitely heard about the book, and I heard the book was way better. I mean, the books are always way better.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's Neil Gaiman, isn't it? I think it's it's a really good author. Yeah, well worth checking out.
Okay, I definitely will check that out. But yeah, that's very interesting how you were saying, like, just the transition like kind of going from being a Greek god and being a well-known Greek god, and then this whole thing with the metaverse happens, and it's like, well, am I still like, do I still have the power that I have here in this reality in the metaverse? You know what I mean? It's like, it's basically like the gods have to start all over again. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of the idea behind it is, they're going into this new world, and obviously they've got a reputation behind them. So people are always going to think that they're pretty cool, but do they really have that power? Probably not. Do they still have influence? Probably yes. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that makes perfect sense. That definitely makes perfect sense. That is a great story, man. It's definitely a great story. So
and again, for anybody that wants the full details of that story, it's on our Discord, so you can go check that out.
Okay, so is it like a lore, like a whole lore story in the Discord?
Yeah, it's just the foundation at the moment. So it's basically just the story of how you started off with these two gods in the normal sort of mortal world, the world that we know, and how they ended up sort of on the blockchain. That's just the first piece, but it'll be added to as the project grows.
Okay, that's amazing. That's definitely amazing. So let's talk about the recent decision to cut the collection up into different phases. I think that's what you said. I think it was 500. So 500 is the number you guys decided to stop at. So why the decision to stop at 500?
Yes, there's a number of reasons for that. Again, I mean, a lot of this comes down to sort of learning as we go along. Obviously, it would have been great if the initial plan to sell the 5,000 had gone through. That would have given us enough funds to crack on with all the plans that we had. But in hindsight, we looked at the timing for the mint and realized a little bit too late that it was going to clash with sort of Cornucopia's land sale, which was enormous. That pulled a lot of focus. There's no doubt about that. But I think as well, we sort of maybe appreciated that we could have been a little bit more clear about what our plans were for the project, and that it wasn't just a profile picture mint, of 5,000, which I think people eventually sort of have become a little bit tired of to a certain extent. Like, you need to show that the project actually has some legs and it's going somewhere. And it always has had that, but maybe we didn't communicate it very well to the community. So we had to sort of pivot a little bit when we realized that, we weren't going to reach that goal. And we thought, well, rather than let's try and mint as many as we can and just stop when it runs out of steam, we thought, no, let's make a new plan. Let's set a more realistic target. Let's achieve that. And then we'll, correct those, little things that we could have done better. Let's tell people more about where the project's going. And then we'll return for a round 2 when we've, proved ourselves a little bit more, when we've built a little bit more and shown a little bit more about where the project's going. Then we'll do that phase 2, and we'll have then the necessary funds to actually see the project through. But in the meantime, we're going to be building and delivering on what we've promised so far.
Okay. Yes. I definitely appreciate your transparency when talking about just the mint and your expectations versus adjusting your expectations, and everything that kind of led you up to this point at this moment to make that decision down to the wire. That actually shows a lot of character for the founder of the project. So I definitely commend you for that, and being transparent and open with the community rather than doing the opposite, man. Because a lot of people do their projects and they would choose not to be transparent, and but you chose to do the opposite. You know what I mean? So I definitely to you for that.
I get you, and I think there is some truth as well to, like, when people say, if you don't complete the mint, if you don't sell out, then that's kind of a failure. And I don't think that's entirely true, but I think there is a bit of truth to that. And I think it is better to pivot and achieve, an adjusted goal, rather than, to just sort of run out of steam halfway through the mint. And then you have to deal with the consequences of that. I think, we didn't want to have to make the decision, but, circumstances dictated that we had to make a decision. And I'm hopeful that it was the right one.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. I think personally, what I think that within the CNFT space and what's going on right now, I think that things are changing. For one, like you mentioned before, huge collections like 10,000 is going to get to a point where huge collections like 10,000 is really not gonna really be achievable anymore. Like, it's really going to get to the point where people are going to get tired of minting, 10,000 PFP projects or 10,000 NFT projects, period. You know what I mean? And you're going to start to see projects that, if they have a large quantity amount, they're going to do like you guys are doing and kind of put it in phases, introduce it to their audience in phases. I think that's actually the next wave that's going to come up. And I've already seen Raccoon Syndicate, which is a new project coming out. I just made a video about them today. That's the only reason why I'm bringing them up. But I made a video about them today, and that's the first thing they said is they said they want to do 10,000, but it's going to be in phases, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, well, the first phase is going to be 2,500. Then the next phase is going to be 1,500. You know what I mean? And once I seen that, I was like, oh, okay. So the whole space is taking a shift. It's not going to be just, oh, here's 20,000, here's 10,000, NFTs, so, and I'm starting to see the trend too with a lot of projects. It can be the most hype project. It can be a big, huge project. For instance, Econicos was super huge, super hype. But they came out and they had 12,000. They had 12,000. They did have a high mint price. I mean, we all know that 700 ADA, that was huge. But even with all the hype they had, they didn't sell out. They didn't sell out. They're 12,000. They allotted 12,000. They only sold about, I want to say about 3,000, about 34,000, 3,500. Oh, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's a huge example right there that the space is taking a different turn. And like I said, I feel like you're hitting the nail right on the head with making the pivot that you are making,
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that is very much the case. I think, like when you first start out in NFTs, like, do you remember the first sort of few NFTs you bought? And it was probably, oh yeah, like this project's doing this project's doing this, and you don't really care. You don't think too much about, how many they're minting. You just want to get involved. It's just all excitement, right? But as you get a bit more experienced in the space, you start maybe being a little bit more analytical about it. And people don't, once they've got, however many different projects in their, they've got NFTs from different projects in their wallets, and that, you have a little bit more of a skeptical eye about these things. And I think that's the right way to be. But, that's some of the difficulty that we faced, and some of it's down to luck as well, I guess. And the amount of sort of influences and stuff that you actually pay for, which, on principle, we really didn't want to do, and we didn't do in the run up. So that's kind of another reason maybe that we didn't have as many people on board for the mint. But I think we would have struggled regardless, for the other reasons that I've mentioned. But in terms of the way that NFTs are going in the CNFT space, I think smaller and more regular mints are probably the way forward. There's no reason that a project couldn't start with, say, a mint of 50, and if that goes well, then you can do a mint of 100, and if that goes well, you can do a mint of 500, and you can kind of build it that way. As long as you keep showing that you're developing ideas and you're building something, that progressively you just build it up. I mean, it's the same way that a small business scales up, really. If you think about it, it's kind of crazy that we do, or that, that we have had that for so long, being able to sort of sell 10,000 NFTs in one go with very little substance behind the the NFTs themselves. I think it's an exciting space. So you know, people are happy to do it initially, but that fades over time.
Exactly, because I feel like exactly, yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think the honeymoon phase is over with
Yeah,
CNFTs.
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Like the honeymoon phase is over, and now we're looking around like, okay, what do we really get ourselves into? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Now we're like 5 years into the marriage and we're thinking, God, we got to spice this up a little bit, you know?
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's a perfect way to put it, man. Yeah, we are, man. And you know, even with me looking at my personal portfolio, I'm leaning more towards metaverses, and of course, everything's utility. People are gonna start talking about utility. It's the first thing people bring up. And we're actually about to get into the utilities for your project as well. But yeah, the first thing I started thinking, because today, even when I was live, I was saying, oh man, ADA's going back up. It's like
Yeah.
ADA is going back up. Did anybody prepare for this? You know what I mean? Because it's like, if ADA's going back up, like I know it was a thing when it went down, right? That's a whole nother mind state, right? That you have to get yourself ready for when ADA goes down. But when ADA goes up, it's the same thing, because the liquidity, people are backing out of people. Like today, we were down like, hold on, let me bring it up. Let me bring it up on my screen. Yeah, right now, the market is actually down 42% right now. Literally, it's down 42% all week. All week, we've been up like 30-40%, right? And then all of a sudden, ADA starts going up. And and here we go, down 40%. And people are just like, oh man, ADA's going up, man. I can't be spending money on these NFTs. You know what I mean? And so yeah, man, it's like a roller coaster ride, man. And you got to have a strategy for every situation that happens. It's insane, man. And that's why I started talking today. I was saying, oh man, passive income and utilities. It's like, okay, because when it gets to the point when ADA does go to $10, no one's gonna want to spend their ADA. No one's gonna no one's
No,
gonna
you're
want to
right.
spend it, you know. So it's just this whole game is crazy, man. I feel like we're on I feel like we're in the Hunger Games,
Yeah.
the movie Hunger Games. It's so crazy.
Yeah, it is a little dog eat dog. But you're right, you know, utility is it's what people look for now. I think, you know, it's all very well and good having these profile picture projects, and if that's all they are, then that's all they are. But the trouble with it is, you know, you do tend to sort of forget about that project and move on to another one that is actually building something, you know, something that you keep getting regular updates on and realize that it's going somewhere, or maybe you're getting passive income, or you know, all those things. They kind of keep you involved, whereas if it is just a profile picture, then it just kind of sits there in your wallet in the hope that, you know, the value goes up. I mean, obviously you would like to think that if you hold that thing, you have an appreciation for it yourself. But then I was having a discussion with my friend the other day about NFTs, and you know, because I kind of used the word art a little flippantly, which I think a lot of people do in the space. And my friend, who's not really into NFTs himself, you know, he got a little angry about it. He's an artist, you see, and he got a little angry, and he was saying, you know, it's not art, man. It's not. It's like it's a whole different thing. And I said, I do actually agree with you. Like, but there is art involved. You know, there's maybe it's a tricky word for some people, but you know, you can't really compare you know, a Bored Ape with the Mona Lisa. You know, they're not the same. So I think there's a fair point there. If you want to just hold something that's, you know, good to look at, then you might as well just have a nice piece of art on the wall. But the beauty of NFTs is they can be so much more. You know, you get this picture, but you also get all this other stuff along with it. So yeah, I think that's where the future lies in it. Anyway, that's just my take.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I really agree. I definitely agree. But I will say, I feel like also, just from the artist perspective, because I'm an artist myself, I also think that while your friend looks at it from the perspective of, okay, the Mona Lisa would never measure, I mean, the Bored Ape Yacht Club art would never measure up the Mona Lisa, right? But we also we can't forget that this is actually a tool for artists to get paid for their art too, as well. You
Oh, for
know,
sure. Yeah.
yeah,
I've seen some great projects out there, and they only, they are particularly unique. They're not, algorithmically generated. They are literally doing a run of, these are 15 pieces of art I did, chuck them on the blockchain, and people will buy them, and that's fantastic. But it's, for me, it's a kind of different thing to the NFT space in general. But yeah, I think that's a great outlet for artists. But it's obviously very different to what our project's doing and what many projects are doing.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I agree. So, excuse me. But so let's dive into the Sad Gods utility. Let's dive into the utility, then we can dive into the roadmap. So let me actually bring them up, share my screen real quick. Okay, we're on the Sad Gods website. So let's talk about the utility, which you guys have a lot. You guys have a lot of stuff in the roadmap, man. Y'all have a lot. So what was the mindset behind the utilities for the project of Sad Gods?
Well, if I could be perfectly sort of candid with you at this point, because looking at the sort of roadmap as it is on the website, it's perhaps been superseded a little bit in light of the changes that have been made over the last couple of weeks, and we have just released our light paper in the last couple of hours.
Okay.
So that's available. It's on GitHub. You're welcome to pull that up, and we can we can discuss that. A lot of it does feed into what's in the roadmap, but there's a lot more detail in there. If you go to announcements, it should be right on the right at the bottom. Oh yeah, right at the top there. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I've been working on this for the last sort of couple of weeks. Had been working on it before the mint, and then as soon as we decided to make that pivot, we thought, okay, let's get this out there. So we've been sort of working hard to get this in a good state to show people.
Okay, so where should we start with the light paper?
I'd say if you go to sort of the mint process, that gives you a little bit more detail about what we're doing, like from this point in terms of the initial mint and the secondary mint. If you're talking about utility, the first thing that we decided to do, which was actually a suggestion from one of our members, they sort of suggested doing a unique one of one Pride themed Sad God in honor of Pride Month.
Okay.
And we loved that idea, thought it really, fit with our ethos. So we thought, actually, let's cap the mint at 499 and mint the 500th as a special edition. And then we're going to auction that amongst the holders of the current Sad Gods. And the proceeds of that will go to a charity that sort of works with people that have been abused for their sort of sexual orientation or their gender orientation. So we thought that would be a nice sort of first thing to be able to do for the holders that have invested in us and believed in us so far. Because we're incredibly grateful to those people that have put that faith in us up to this point. And then from there, obviously, there's a little bit of detail on the secondary mint and also a nod that there will be an airdrop to every holder or indeed every Sad God that currently exists. Will be matched up with an airdrop, which will be different. It's not from the original 5,000. It'll be something else entirely, which is something that we're working on. But that's just a first sort of bonus and a bit of a thank you to those people that have, invested in us up to this point.
Okay. That's great. That's definitely great. Did you discuss, was that part of the, did they have anything to do with the airdrops? There was the airdrops, right?
Sorry, did what have anything to do with the
airdrops? What you were just saying, did that include the airdrops, or did?
Oh yeah. Sorry, that's what I was saying is for every sad god that exists, there will be a paired up NFT that'll be airdropped to each one essentially. So if you hold 7 sad gods, you'll essentially get 7 airdrops straight into your wallet of something that's completely new. Obviously, it'll still be a part of the sort of sad gods theme, but it won't be one of the 5,000. It'll be a different thing. And we discussed a couple of these potential scenarios in our AMA, which again is on our Discord. You're welcome to go and listen to it, or there's a kind of summary of some of the questions and answers that are on there. But we, fitting in with the narrative that I mentioned earlier, we might do something like a Zeus NFT where he's going into the metaverse to try and get Apollo and Daphne to come back, or it could be something else entirely different. But it'll be on the gods theme. But yeah, that's just an example.
Okay, that sounds great. So next, let's jump into the tokenization. I was definitely excited when I heard you guys were planning on launching a token, and especially when you made the announcement about the initial holder rewards will be 5%, and that is a pretty large percentage, especially with just 500 NFTs out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we decided to do a 10 billion mint of the token, which means for every, well, it'll depend a little bit on rarity, but on average, that means that if you hold 1 sad god, on average, you will get 1 million tokens, which is quite a nice number. I know it's all a bit smoke and mirrors because it doesn't really matter how many you're minting. It just depends on the valuation. But it's just a pluck that number out of the air to some degree. But it's nice not to have to sort of divide it up too many times. But yeah, the point really is with that 5%, we are very community focused and community driven, and those people that invested during that period when there was so much else going on, and have decided to hold those NFTs knowing that we have plans for the future. Those people are so valuable to us, and this seemed like the least we could do really, to reward them with that initial chunk, which will literally be the case that it will accrue virtually, if you like, over time. So we'll have a cutoff date for when you need to register your NFTs or your wallet holding those NFTs, and beyond that point, obviously you'll have to hold that. You won't be able to list your NFTs, but you hold that up to a certain date, which will probably be around the same time as the phase 2 mint, which will be just before the token, just before full staking goes live. And at that point, then we will airdrop those tokens into those wallets, just to give you a bit of an idea of the sort of time frame mechanics of how that's going to work. Just to recap that, it will be building up, and you'll be able to view that on our website, how much you've got. But obviously you won't have access to it until staking goes live. And at that point, that 5% of the supply will be airdropped out, split between the holders of the initial NFTs. And then from that point on, after the phase 2 mint is complete, we'll be able to implement full staking.
Okay, that's great. I guess next we can go into staking. For your staking utility, right? Are you guys building your own distribution system, or are you collaborating with another somebody who's already established with distributing tokens? for staking?
So that's very much it's still very early days for us on that, and we've been having conversations. Me and Deus have been having conversations about that, and it's one of those things that at the moment we sort of feel is achievable, but without too much collaboration. Deus, who actually knows more about the development than I do, he's sort of said, oh, we might need to get people involved to do this bit. So I think we've set realistic expectations about how we're going to achieve this. But as I say, it's early days yet. So yeah, we're probably looking, it's going to be a few months realistically before we're anywhere like implementing full staking. But I would expect in the next kind of couple of months we'll be able to have set that cutoff date for holders to verify their wallets and to be able to start sort of virtually accruing tokens. Just to give you an idea of the timescales we're thinking of.
Okay. So with that being said, so that's it for the tokenization. That's it for the staking. Now we're on the auction house concept. Okay, so that's the concept with the Pride NFT that you guys were auctioning off, right?
Oh no, this is very much our sort of vision of the value proposition really of the auction house that we're talking about. This is kind of how we see it. I guess the thing for me when we were discussing the idea is I was thinking about auction houses and thinking, why would this be any different? From you go on Cnft.io and you can set up an auction and you can just auction off your NFT, right? Like, why is this going to be any better than that? Why are people going to want to use this? Well, this kind of sets that out to some degree. And for me, I kind of think about it in terms of the analogy to somewhere like Sotheby's. Like it's the biggest fine auction or fine art auction house on the planet. Most major cities, New York, I think like New York, Paris, London, they're kind of dotted all over the place. And they account for about 30% of the world's fine art auctions, and they do sculptures and antiques and, all the rest of it. Now, why do people go to Sotheby's? Why do they go there and not to just any old auction house, right? Well, it's because Sotheby's will provide you with this so-called correct valuation, right? They really know a lot about it and they know what it's worth. And also because, they have a customer base already. So they've got people going there, right? Now, the second part is harder to address, but the first part is doable, right? Valuing NFTs, that's not something that I've seen really. You can value a floor NFT, that's no problem, right? But how do you really know what value your, rank 12 in a collection is at any given point, especially if you need the liquidity right away? People are often going to take less than they actually deserve for it. So that's kind of where this auction house steps in and says, okay, well, if you need the liquidity right away, then we'll give you a valuation on that NFT, which we can do partly algorithmically and partly, less so, just using our own expertise. And then put that up for auction in a particular setting where people know that they're, bidding using a sort of legitimate outlet. And then hopefully everybody's a winner. And within that, you've got what happens with all of the with the tokenomics tying into it, which is what on the following page kind of sets out how the tokenomics tie in to the auction house concept, which is all to do with gaining reductions in fees and that kind of thing. And also, if you're a holder of Sad Gods NFTs, you'll be able to get these appraisals. You'll be able to get your NFTs valued for free, effectively.
Okay.
So you want to come to us and find out what that NFT is actually worth. Well, if you hold a Sad God, we'll do that for free.
Okay.
If you're not a holder, well, we can still value it, but we might charge you a little bit for it unless you agree potentially to lock it into a smart contract or auction it with us anyway. And then, we'll value it properly without the fee. So, there's a multitude of different ways that these tokens tie in, and it's kind of set out in brief on that page.
Okay. That's a great idea. I love the concept of appraisal. I guess that would be like an appraisal system in a sense. I think that's needed in NFTs. When you said that, like, that kind of sparked my brain, because you were saying like, oh, we can all evaluate from the floor, but are we really thinking about the actual value of the actual art?
Especially in a large collection, you've got all these different traits, and sure, you can use these things on CNFT tools and CNFT jungle, and they're very they're very useful, they're very helpful in some ways, but A, some people don't have the time, and B, as we as human beings, we're not very good at pulling in large amounts of data. That's what a computer's good at. So that's kind of what we're aiming to build, is a very robust algorithm that will give you a benchmark for any NFT. And there will be a mechanism built in that will flag if the confidence level in that benchmark isn't very high, so that it can be referred to a person. If you're dealing with a collection which is very, very small and doesn't have a lot of history, then it's going to be hard to actually do that algorithmically. So there'll be a mechanism built in to do that side of things. But yeah, that's kind of the concept and how it's supposed to work.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, because I can really see the establishment of something like that would be monumental, because what happened, it would be a domino effect. If you guys come with your auction house that generally does appraisals for NFT artwork, there's going to be other auction houses, you know what I mean? And with other auction houses, what's going to happen is the same thing over again. And what that is going to influence is, for volatility, it's going to lessen the volatility and make it more stable market. And
yeah, it's interesting. I hadn't actually thought about that. But it's a good point. Yeah, I mean, that's quite reassuring for people, I suppose.
Yeah, because I mean, let's just face it. Right now, it's the wild, wild west, man. Everything's the wild, wild west. You could pick up something tomorrow that mints tomorrow. The next day, you can mint it for 100 ADA. The next day, it'll go down to 5 ADA, and you're just like, "What happened?" And it's like one person in Discord started spreading FUD, and like, that's all. That's literally all it takes. I've seen it happen over and over and over again, like, to the point where it's like, it's like, okay, of course we want the freedom to make our own decisions, right? But if it's just like that all the time, and there's no other thing to gauge, and it's just people's emotions, if they're just going off people's emotions, if that's what determines whether a project is good or not, that's never going to be stable enough. It's never is never going to be stable. So the concept of your auction house is very interesting, because if these people with the unstable emotions, they would actually come to the auction house, because they know, a lot of these people know that they're unstable emotionally. They know that. So if an auction house comes out and says, "Hey, we're going to do the appraisal for you. You don't have to think about that stuff anymore. Like, I could tell you what it's really worth." Well, if all the emotional people, the people that have that invest with their emotions, come to the auction houses, that's going to create less volatility once again, because if they're going to listen to the auction houses, if the auction house says, "Hey, do not give up this NFT, it is worth 500 ADA," right? Is worth 500 ADA. And they just minted it for, they just minted it for 50 ADA. You say it's worth 500 ADA, and you say at this point, The project keeps doing what it's doing, it's probably gonna go up, right? There's a probability. Of course, as always, you got to give probability. No one really knows. And they listen to you. They hold that product or that project. Essentially, the project is gonna go up. If they hold, that's the only thing that makes projects go up. If people just hold, that's all they have to do is hold. That's literally all they have to do for a project to go up.
Well, that's it. It's incredible, really, when you've got people in these communities and that they're literally all in communication with one another, and some people just don't seem to understand that. If you've just minted one of a 10,000 collection, right, and like everybody's in the Discord, if everybody just agreed to not sell anything, right, like what's the floor price? Well, it's as high as you want it to be, right? Because as soon as somebody decides to sell one, you can choose your price. It doesn't matter. There's nobody undercutting you. It could be 100,000 ADA. Why not? So it baffles me sometimes that you've got so many people kind of constantly undercutting. You just think you're all communicating with one another. Why don't you just agree to, not sell it?
Yeah, exactly. Just agree to not sell it. That's all you have to do. And then maybe a year later, when people discover it, because people are gonna find out, because people always find out when a project has a bunch of diamond hands, right? You always find out because you're looking at the ratio. You're looking at how many, how many of these were minted and how many are on the floor, right? That ultimately kind of determines your value a little bit. How many holders do you have, and how many are on the floor versus how many are not on the floor. And that's how people on the outside looking in kind of determine the value, and they're like, oh, well, a lot of people aren't selling these. Maybe I should go try to buy one, and then, from there, it just goes up, it rarely goes down unless people get mad that new people are buying into the project, which no one should care about. That's a good thing, So, but yeah, man, I think you're on to something. I definitely think you're on to something with this auction house, because there has to be other options. Let's just say that there has to be other options that come into play that offer another level of stability outside of what we've already been introduced to. That is how I'm gonna say it.
Yeah, for me, it fits a bit of a niche. It's just an untapped opportunity in the NFT space. And when it really hit me a bit like a brick when I realized that it's not limited to Cardano. This applies to all NFTs. This ability to give a robust appraisal, to an NFT, that is pretty universal. So yeah, I think we've got some building to do, but I think it's going to be great when we get there. And sure, there's going to be competition, but I think as long as we carve out a little space for ourselves, I think this has got legs.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But yeah, man. You're on it. I see the community treasury here. That's a more shorter summary. Basically that you guys are planning to implement a community treasury. And it's going to be voted on by the holders as far as what you guys are going to use them for. Correct?
So it's basically just going to be a big fat wallet that's governed by the holders of the sad gods, and it'll be funded through pretty much all of the revenue streams. So there'll be a couple of sort of big chunks that go in, from tokens, from the tokenomics, and from the phase 2 mint. And then it'll be sort of drip fed by royalties and appraisals and sales if they happen on auctions and bits and pieces like that. So that's where the money will come from, and it will it's to be decided by the community. If they want to buy NFTs with it, they can buy NFTs. If they want to buy land. They can, like, literal land. You know, why not? I think by the time we get to that stage, I think these DeFi applications could be there. That, you know, if the community said, you know what, that couple of acres on the edge of New York, that's pretty cool. Let's buy that. You know, why not? I think that's wonderful. It's a really cool thing to be able to do. So yeah, I mean, it's, as I say, it's up to the community. It's just another way of us, you know, giving some utility to the people that we value. You know, those people that have really placed their faith in us, and obviously share something with us because they enjoy the art itself. Yeah, very glad to have those people on board.
Yep. That's great, man. That's great. The community treasurer is great. And then finally, the last thing we have on the light paper is future concepts. You're basically saying you guys hope to implement a metaverse version of the Sad Gods auction house, meaning that you will be able to attend virtual auctions in the metaverse and explore our virtual gallery. We will also have a merchandise store so that you can purchase Sad Gods merchandise using our in-house token in ADA. Then you also go on to talk about poker. Talk about poker sessions as well. And then, you know, that will be coming if you guys succeed with your full metaverse version of the auction house, and also implementing a virtual Sad Gods casino, which would be amazing. I think that is fire. That's a great idea. I think those are some great concepts, man. Those are definitely some great concepts.
I mean, sorry to cut you off. Just going to say, we've always tried to be very realistic about sort of what we can achieve. So, you know, this is why these ideas are listed under sort of future concepts. You know, don't want to promise anything on these, really. Just that this is, you know, the direction we'd like to take this in. You know, that's kind of the dream. You know, if you could build the sort of virtual Sotheby's in the metaverse, and you've got those things going on, you know, you've got metaverse auctions going on, you've got a virtual gallery, then why not attach, you know, a casino to the other side of it? I think the two things kind of go hand in hand. It's got that kind of fine art sort of thing going on. It's that sort of high lifestyle, which kind of fits a little bit with our narrative behind the gods, and they are, you know, they do enjoy sort of decadent lifestyles, and they appreciate the finer things. So it all kind of ties together in that sense. But we've had some really great fun, like poker sessions with our community. People seem to really enjoy it. And yeah, we thought, you know, that would be amazing if we did get to the stage of implementing a metaverse auction house. Then, you know, it wouldn't be that ridiculous to think we could build a casino on the side of the gallery and auction house. And if we can do that, then absolutely, if you hold a Sad God, then there'll be special zones that are just for you. You know, you'll be the VIP. There'll be games that are, you know, just set for Sad Gods holders. And obviously, if you've held onto your tokens for that long, then you'll have a heck of a thick wallet to be playing in the casino with. So, you know, it's fun all around.
Yep. That's definitely fun all around. Man, you got me thinking about these chips. You got me thinking about these coins and these. I'm looking at the coin as a casino chip now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be great, man. That would be amazing. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out to Elton S. Shout out to 2 Illy. He says, "What's up, team?" And he also says, "Sad Gods LFG." So shout out to 2 Illy, man. That is all awesome world fam. But yeah, that is it for the light paper. We actually just breezed through the light paper, man. I didn't even know you guys just launched the white paper. You said it was just a couple hours ago, right?
Yeah. Literally just put the finishing touches on it a couple hours ago, and yeah, chucked it out. Yeah, we've been hoping to get it out a little bit sooner than this, but we prefer to get it right than get it out quickly. And we very much envision the light paper as a bit of a living document. You know, it's not going to change. You know, we want the community to be involved. If they're coming up with ideas, you know, and people seem to like them, then we'll update it. It's just going to be one of those things that it'll change as we go along. But hopefully what's in there at the moment will form, you know, a solid foundation for us to build on.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Especially from my perspective, yeah, a lot of that stuff is very solid. A lot of things are solid. I like exactly what you're saying. I like the ideas. I definitely like the ideas of implementation, the auction house. I like the fact that you guys cut down the mint and you're slowing it down, taking it in phases. Yeah, man, I just think you guys are making all the right steps to scale, to scale at your pace, because yeah, man, a lot of projects right now the pace is all over the place for a lot of different projects. Long as you guys stay focused and zoned in on what you guys are doing and scale at your pace, everything will be good, man. You know, from my perspective, you know. So with that being
thanks. Yeah, it's really it's nice to hear. Good to have positive comments, you know.
yeah, exactly, man. You just got to take things at your pace. Because you, man, if you look at these other projects and look at everything else going on, man, everybody's moving 100. They're just moving very fast. Everything's moving very fast. I can never relate because I am a CNFT music artist, and so I release my own music CNFTs. But guess what? Music CNFTs aren't really popular right now. You know, they're just not, because people honestly don't even know about music CNFTs right now. Like, they don't even think that's a thing. You know, they don't know that you can actually go inside your wallet and actually listen to your music CNFTs inside your wallet. Like, you don't even have to go anywhere else. You can listen to it from your wallet, on your phone, wherever you want to listen to it at. You know, people don't know that. They're still not aware. So I played the tortoise, tortoise in the hare, you know, slow and steady.
Yeah.
Slow and steady. Currently what I'm doing now is I'm actually minting a new song every Friday. But that new song that I mint every Friday is 15 ADA. And also I only give them 48 hours to mint it, you know. So
yeah.
you know
what it is, man. You're just so early. That's all it is.
Very early.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very early, very, very early. But you know, I feel like you're early too, because you're talking about auctions. You're talking about starting a metaverse auction house. You know, that's a very early concept as well. But like I said, slow and steady wins the race. Stay focused on your innovations and what you're doing, because what I hear is innovation. I hear it like, man, the stuff that you're saying is next level, man, with this auction house stuff. I'm telling you now, like, it's very next level. As long as you just stick to it and keep going in that direction, you know. And proof of work, man, right now, I think what's going on with the space too is that there's a lot of proof of work. There's a people now are into proof of work. It's proof of work, man, with everything, you know. So if, you know, the biggest company in the world can come out and be like, oh, you know, we just sold 1 million NFTs, right? Well, the people are going to want results for that. They're going to want, you know, well, we bought your NFT. Like, so what are you going to show us for this? You know, we all own it now. So proof of work is very big. And I feel like for people who scale at a slower pace, we're going to end up winning the race, because when you scale too fast, all you're going to have is a bunch of people waiting with their hands out like, hey, so what are you going to do now? You know, and that pressure, I feel like that pressure doesn't really make good for a project long term.
Yeah. I think there's a certain amount of like traditional business sort of expertise that would say, you know, if you're first to market, that's a big benefit. But I don't think that applies in Web3. not with the scale that you're talking about. You know, in terms of you can be serving this globally, right? If the thing can't scale to serve that market, then it's never gonna be the winner, right? Like, I mean, that's the Cardano approach. It doesn't matter if we're not top one now. It doesn't matter if it takes, you know, however many years to implement sort of smart contracts and get the scalability things going. You know, it's still happening. But you know, if you look at the growth of development on Cardano, I mean, it seems inevitable. But yeah, just one man's opinion. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I'm totally in agreement with you. I think slow and steady does win the race in this scenario. It's certainly in Web3.
Yeah, definitely. All right, man. You know, with all of that being said, we are near the end of the interview. One thing I like to do is I like to do shout outs. Is there anyone you want to shout out for, you know, anything in particular, man? Anybody you want to shout out during this interview that maybe, you know, help you with your project, inspired you in life, anything?
I think personally, I would just like to give a big shout out to Paris, Deus, Doris, you know, the co-founders of Sad Gods. They've been great since I came on board. You know, we just you know, get along really well, and I think we all have sort of
sorry about that.
That's all right. Yeah, we just seem to work quite well together as a team. You know, I'd like to say a sort of thanks for the opportunity, and also like to say you know, a big thank you and a big shout out to all of our Sad Gods holders. You know, really appreciate you know, you guys actually investing in the project and sticking with us. And you know, we are going to deliver for you. That's about it from my end, I think.
Okay. And with that being said, this is your boy awesomeisjayell, aka the biggest music artist in the metaverse, and we are signing off.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
All right.
You ain't see my shoes, you ain't see the views. Look, I get the views. Top floor of the suite, watch the views. What you gon' say to me that I can't say to you? That's some news to me, that's so new to me. I'm luxury, it been like this for a minute, I don't do for free. You gotta pay, yes there is a fee. Yeah, I'm off the leash, yeah, I'm a beast. Yeah, I'm a preacher, step in the booth and preach. Yeah, I do teach, this is for the youth. I'm inside the booth, not off on 40 proof. I'm on that G.O.D., God at the juice, God at the truth. And it's on the loose, riding around in the city like I'm on a moose. On a mongoose, rock a mongoose. Papa Willie, we don't care, Mick Millie air. Think I need a spare. Got too much air, hit too much ground, never touch the asphalt. If you fall, then my that gon' be your fault. I'm on that G.O.D., God at the juice, God at the truth. And it's on the loose, riding around in the city like I'm on a